All right, I've got 6 o'clock, so I will call the Village of Belleville Committee of the whole meeting to order. Roll call.
President Davis.
Here.
Trustee Feynman.
Here.
Ongar. Here. Cannon.
Here.
Whoa. Ed Kraut. Here. Everybody's absent. Declared.
Here.
Important.
All right, so there's no minutes to approve, since this is our first one of these, so public comment.
I have just one signed up moment. It's our friend Joe.
Friends.
Oh, are we not?
No, we're so friendly. I think so anyway.
Oh,
So, I don't even know the formats, if we had one of these, so, I just saw on the agenda that you've got some substantial conversations around committee restructuring. And I don't even know if we've been through a full cycle of new committee restructuring yet, that we did back when I was in office. So, just a caution on putting into place committee members who are not residents of the village. So specifically, I saw in parks that there might be youth sports representatives that would be on committees. And I'm always hesitant when you start talking about residents who are paying taxes and have an interest that might not align with what youth sports may or may not want to do with our parks. And since they don't have any financial stake in the game, it does not sit well with me that they would necessarily have a voting voice relative to that. Now, that's not to suggest that they shouldn't be maybe non-voting representatives. That would make sense. Like we do that on Economic Development Committee right now with the school district, for example. I think we might even have like
Through the chamber too.
yeah, the chamber as well. So that makes sense. And I'm not trying to stop it because they definitely have input relative to what happens with our parks, but we're responsible for paying for our parks, for our tax dollars. In youth sports, the youth sports organizations, my understanding is the leadership of those organizations doesn't necessarily sit within the village. So there can be conflicts there that would exist. Again, I didn't get a sense for what was going on with economic development. I think what went before the finance committee was to sort of dissolve that committee. And I don't know that that's a really good idea at all. That's literally the only committee that sits and exists right now that has input from local businesses directly to the board. So getting rid of that, I think, is also a really bad idea. That's whether I'm on the committee or not, but just ultimately whether or not you've got representation or voices coming from businesses in the area. I think we always like to hear from them and opening up that channel. I know we've got 3 active committee members right now that are local business owners that are on that committee. That committee's done a lot of really good stuff, whether you're talking about facade grants, or I know that we're working on loan stuff with the banks right now. We're working on other grants or other opportunities for that as well. Again, just a couple of thoughts on that. I didn't want to hammer all of you too much with it, but just things to keep in mind relative to those things. So that's all I need.
Thanks, Joe. Anybody else? Mary?
Nobody on the list.
All right, I meant to do this before public comment, but I want to, seeing as this is our first meeting, and a little refresher for those of us up here, but for everybody else, what this, how this committee, the whole is going to work, and so, Gabe, you want to?
Yeah, so we put in place the committee of the whole as a more informal conversation of the village board, and residents have a little bit more freedom to speak and ask questions on it to the chair's kind of permission. But it is more of a have those tough conversations here, then direct staff later, send it back to staff or send it to a different committee. No final decisions are made at this level. It's more of a informal conversation. That way I can get the board's opinion. So it could be ordinances, it could be the budget kind of conversations before it's recommended to the village board. It can be a lot of things, or it's something that has multiple committees. So like the Belleville 175th, Arts and Culture is having major conversations about it, but then they also thought about bringing in economic development. So get the board to provide, hey, this is what we want. Now go implement that. So it's more of a informal information gathering session for staff to be able to know what the board wants. Like if it's an RFP or whatever they want. Yeah, first Monday of the month, 6 o'clock, and then the board will immediately follow at 7.
So like Gabe and I talked earlier, probably like 6:55 or whatever, we'll cut it off so we can switch over during the committee of the whole, and then switch over to board meeting at that point. But so again, we can make motions, but nothing gets approved finally here, so. Okay. Okay, staff reports then.
I don't know.
I don't have any. Tax questions all but done. Auditors finished their in-person last week.
Justin Keski, he's the first day today and kind of heard the conversation, so I'll let him introduce himself and give you a little bit of his background.
Hello, everybody. My name is Justin Geske. I'm back with you guys. Today is my first day. Glad to be here. I'm very thankful that, you guys as a village, put your trust in me, hiring me as the captain here at the police department. I definitely look forward to, expanding upon my career prior to Belleville. I started my law enforcement career 12 years ago for the city of Jefferson, over in Jefferson County. And then from there, I was part-time, and then I got hired full-time in the city of Milton. And then I progressed up to a patrol sergeant. And when I left there, I was number 2 in command. So, got 11 years at Milton, but definitely excited to kind of a new beginning here, and excited to get to know the community as well. So, just want to go around and formally shake everyone's hand, because I know you guys probably just know my name as being on a piece of paper. Thank you. Welcome aboard. It's good.
Can see him.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thank you. There it is.
I would.
Yep.
Anything else, Chief? Mayor? Or, I'm sorry, Henry? Mayor?
I have the clerk's report. I just will highlight again that the spring primary is for Dane County only. In-person absentee voting starts tomorrow. We do that at Village Hall here, but the polling place will be here on the 17th. The other thing I want to highlight actually relates to dog tags. We have started migrating all of our applications to an online system, and the dog tag application went live on Friday. So this is kind of neat because it's all, eventually we'll be able to create the application and pay for the application all online. And then it puts you in a system and it will send reminders the next year about having to renew your dog tags or whatever application you've done. It gives staff portals to view and manage that without having to deal with so much paper. So I'm really excited for that. Like I said, the dog tags went live on Friday, and you can find that on the website. The other one that went live on Friday is our liquor operator licenses. We'll be migrating everybody that's received their liquor license into that system, so then they'll get a renewal notice next year when we do renewal for those as well. So just kind of keep an eye on that. Special events is probably the next one migrating to that system, and then we'll keep going from there. But I'm really excited about it. It's really slick. And I think it's going to benefit the community to kind of have that virtual, easier option, especially once we're able to start paying online as well.
Okay. Anything else? All right, gets us into new business.
Quick, or do we do the
What?
committee updates quick?
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, we'll do those now in case we get long-winded at the end. So committee updates, arts and culture.
So yeah, we had our first meeting for the 175th a couple of weeks ago. It went well. We had quite a few people show up just to kind of get ideas, see how we want to do this. Do we want to string it out over the year? Unfortunately, the weather was really bad, so we didn't get as many as we would have liked, but I think we've got a good start. We've got some idea of what we want to do. And then we'll be debriefing for the cookie walk and Marion Bright this week.
Public Works, Properties and Utilities, we met a couple of the items when they're coming that we'll deal with at the village board meeting tonight. Otherwise, I think we had a whole lot of stuff on there that I remember.
We had a fair amount of stuff.
We had a fair amount of stuff.
None of it's coming to a head right now.
Yeah. Yeah, all kinds of things that are kind of in the works here, so. But we'll be doing the construction standards this year and then the sewer plants, the wastewater treatment plant study is being done this year also, so. Emergency management.
So emergency management, we have been working on some goals that we'd like to see for this year. Potential change, we just decided that we are not gonna meet until May.
All right. Questions on those? All right, new business, discuss and consider the village committee restructure. Yay.
Yeah, so, this was presented at the finance committee meeting at their January meeting. There has been some changes based on feedback, that has been made based on that, conversation. And we felt that it's necessary to bring it to the village board to see what direction that you guys would like to do. So stop me if you have any questions.
What brought about this change?
There had been some conversations on just how our committees designed, efficiencies of committees. And I felt that it was time, at least a good opportunity to review what I felt are lapses. As Jeff had mentioned, we had gone through a pretty substantial committee reorg, not too long ago. But there are some that I think could have a little bit of, just a touch up. I think. So purposes of committee, they are advisory, they provide special expertise, they're that additional community voice, and they do share the workload of the board. We have multiple, we have legislative committees, these are ones that can make decisions without village board approval. Well, that would be like planning commission, advisory would, and like, would be finance and governance or public works. You don't have to have advisory, whereas most legislative ones you do. And then you have joint committees with other municipalities like fire and EMS district boards. And then we have two ad hocs, that's the architectural review committee and the lake review committee, but I'm still working on the architectural one, getting that wrapped up. But the changes was really kind of a fairness conversation or just a share of duties. We had talked lengthily at the finance committee on just payment for trustees and how does that work and the imbalance of that. So, and I've been involved, kind of just watching committee assignments and all that. So I'm like, all right, what can we do to help kind of level the playing field? And if you all know, I'm going to be absent in some of the summer. And so where can we lower some staff? We're going to make it a little efficient. So with our current committee structure, we have 39 board seats, where the next one would have 34. We would have 59 resident seats. We actually gained a seat. Where the inequity comes from is not all trustees actually chair a committee, and committee assignments range from 3 to 9. Obviously, yes, committees make, or trustees make a recommendation what they want, and then Mike recommends to the board, and then the board confirms. So in some of that fairness, if you didn't ask for some, then you're not going to get some. Like that's, it's not personal on that end. And then we have a lot of committees that staff are assigning to. So with the new changes, the village president would chair 2 committees and then sit on 2 others. And then when I say trustees 1 through 3, it's just 3 trustees sit on 2, chair 2, and 3 chair 1. But all of you are on, or some, all 5. All those. So the first change is emergency management.
Can I just make a point? And this is kind of to Jeff Larson's comments. We have a hard time filling all of this, especially, the resident seats in these committees already. So, and I completely understand the concern of, we want stakeholders, people that live here and pay taxes here to have a voice for sure. But at the same time, you can fill all the seats. So I like the idea of possibly expanding the reach of where we can pull residents' seats from, in the fact of, to get a body in the seat for one, And possibly, you know, you could draw on some additional expertise. If you have someone that's got, you know, relevant background to that committee. And then, you know, I don't know how you would work that though, if you had, how you would structure it, like, because I don't, you know, you could have a bunch of residents coming in and does that mean you have to take the residents first? But what if you had, you know, someone outside that had very relevant experience and knowledge that might be a better fit for being productive in the committee also? So,
That's up to you. That's.
you know, well, our ordinance is written that we can draw from outside the village.
Only for the Economic Development Committee as it currently sits. Then you can have a business owner who doesn't live in Belleville. But every other committee is in village-wide. And you guys did just make that the foundation had to be inside the village. So that was a decision you guys just made.
Is it a school district?
I think, no, we.
asked about the school district and we decided no.
Yeah.
Because that was too far of a net,
Oh, okay, that's right.
wide net.
Yeah.
Because we went with business owners and, you know, that we didn't live in the village.
The same as Economic Development.
Okay.
I guess I just think it's a valid argument to, you know, possibly in the village's interest to have more experienced people sitting on these committees too.
Well, you gotta see who applies for them.
Well, I mean,
If we got,
my point is we need to have, one, we would have to change ordinances to allow people from outside the village to even apply. And then do we need to define a process of, you know, is it just the president's decision on who they want? Or do we have to do something where a resident comes first and then someone outside? Or is someone's, you know, if someone's a finance person, accountant or auditor, and they want to be on, you know, the finance committee, for example.
put them on,
But what if they're not in the village?
if they own property in the village. I mean, that was the whole point of me saying within the school district, but again, we decided that was too wide of net. We thought we'd start with this. And we
That
can
was-
see how this works and we can always expand it.
That was for that specific. What
Community foundation.
Just the community foundation. We're talking village committees here. So it is a separate decision.
Anyway, I think you all need to have that conversation regardless of any challenges.
And Jeff, don't fall off your chair now. So this would, yeah. I don't see, and again, I asked the question in finance, how many citizen members we have that are interested in some of these committees, and, you know, you said some, there are as many, or there are a lot of people, and, yeah, so I hate, I mean, I think, I agree with Jeff on this, that bringing in people that are not residents of the village is an issue, I think. So, and I also, I mean, I go back to the, you know, where we're stipulating that everybody's gonna be on so many committees. You know, technically, it's the job of the village president to recommend those, make those recommendations, and yeah, the board gets a say in it, or has the final say, but I think taking, if we're limiting, you know, which we are kind of with this, as to who the village president can appoint to committees. Because everybody's gotta be on, you know, and then again, you go to the other question here, you know, the way we did the committee last time, when you put the survey out, which committees would you like to be on, which ones would you be willing to chair? If somebody only checks 3 committees that they want to be on,
Which happens.
you know, then,
Well, I'm gonna have one trustee drop out of a committee.
yeah,
That's happened.
yeah, so, I mean, I have a problem with putting the limitations on there, you know. I mean, as you know, as you all know, we had a long discussion in finance, and the big one was what Jeff brought up about EDC. Well, that's that's, I see has been removed from here now. So
Yes.
EDC is going to remain its own committee, but, so.
Well, and that's one person on a committee that makes a recommendation. It's not everybody on that committee.
Well, I think the concern is when you're looking at, like accounting practices, things and checks and balances, and that applies to all committees, is if you get someone that has their own personal agenda or their outside thinking, maybe they are very knowledgeable, they could potentially influence the committee with their argument. And it might not be in the best interest of the village entirely. So where is your checks and balance against, a potential problem with the committee being, I'm just gonna say, overrun by that? And I guess, sitting here, I'm thinking that's where the board has to provide that check and balance. And that's a challenge we have also in a small community, is enough experience for people to question why even a committee is making a recommendation if it doesn't sound like it's in the best interest of the village as a whole. So, and that's just the big picture of, your checks and balances. So,
And I'm gonna talk, I don't see Montrose and Exeter allowing non-citizens on their committees. Again, they don't have nearly the committee structure that we have, but,
Common practice is it stays within the municipality.
yeah.
Is common practice.
The community foundation is a little different because as we talked about it when we approved those bylaws, there's going to be a lot expected out of those committee members. So, the business, that makes perfect sense to have a business owner, I guess, whether they live in the village or not, but if they're a business owner in the proper in the village, that makes perfect sense. But,
could something be put in ordinance that, states to the effect that, if resident seats can be filled within whatever time frame that the president's allowed to, or, whoever's allowed to extend the reach. I don't know how you structure it, but, extend the reach to neighboring communities or something, or statewide even, I don't know.
I think it's worth noting that these committees would not have the authority to spend money or pass ordinances without the board's permission. So the board will always have a check on what these committees do.
I think this is a longer term. Can we walk through the changes quick and then we can?
I'm fine with that. I just want to get that out there for people to consider.
So emergency management committee, the only change is I took the management team off, which is staff members. What there's truly an emergency, they're going to be out in the field. And I talked to all three of the chiefs on how they felt on that, and they were in unanimous agreement that when they need to be at a meeting, they will be at the meeting, but it's not something that they need to be at as a voting member. And that allows us to get quorum at a much better shot. So 2 trustees, 3 citizen reps, keep that with change, or as the recommended 2-year terms for residents.
So are we removing the clerk as,
She'll be, staff liaisons are any management team member is a staff liaison. So Maren will be there, I might be there, Chris might be there, like, just depending on what that topic is and who's writing the minutes is really to kind of staff will figure out who's the best staff liaison. But no staff member will be in the committee.
I don't know.
If there is a emergency, we need to do EOC, staff's got their jobs they're not going to be that committee, right, Gary? There's tasks that staff has to be doing.
Yeah, staff, in a small community like this, that's always been the problem. It's been the 3 chiefs have been on there. Well, if it hits the fan, the 3 chiefs are going to be in the field. So I know when we had the gas leak on North Park over there, like on the fire side, Brian was in the field, but Chance showed up. So they send a deputy chief or a, captain or whatever to the
EOC.
yeah. So I mean, there would need to be a representative
In the room,
at the EOC. So,
but they don't have to be a voting member. They just need to.
no. Yeah, I mean, because the major decisions, this group up here, the policy group would still make any decisions on,
Where's money going? What's all?
yeah, all that kind of stuff. So the EOC, the staff there would, they're there to support what's going on in the field. So,
That's why they don't need to be as a voting member.
yeah. And so that's a change too from the original, because wasn't that being put under the police committee or the
Yeah,
or public service or public safety committee, whatever?
Yeah, I got, there was quite a bit of comment on that, on whether it should be merged with public safety.
Okay.
That's why I separated it. I kept it itself. For Parks, Rec and Forestry, it combines the lake ad hoc with 2 seats from youth sports representatives. And I think if the board wants to keep it as village residents, then you just have to have 2 youth sports representatives that live in the village.
And I do agree with Jeff's comment that if it's somebody from outside, it doesn't, not a resident, put them in as a non-voting member, at least,
Yeah.
because they should have a seat at the table, because obviously they're the biggest users of the parks. So, I think they should be invited, but yeah, they'd just be non-voting members.
If they're not.
Not that they couldn't influence the decision, but it's no different than anybody sitting out in the audience here could influence the decision. So,
So yeah, it combines the lake with the ad hoc. Ad hoc, once the final report goes out, then their main job from what the board directed them will be done. And then it can easily fold into what the parks should be doing, which is all of our recreational amenities. Police commission. So police commission is a little bit separate. Police commission are, it's a, or a state statute. And it is, their job is to recommend personnel decisions. The village board determines FTE count, they determine salaries and all of that, and the budget wise. But the police commission hires and fires and disciplines, sworn officers. So no board members are on that. It's all citizen reps. Once we reach the 5,000 population, we're gonna have to do it. So you don't have a choice. That day one, it's implemented. And so our thought is to get it done now, get it, adjusted to that. Public safety renames police committee to public safety committee. And then it removes the license advisory committee. We've kind of talked about that at a couple levels of committees. But just the day-to-day licenses that Maren would need to do as its operators or what?
So operators don't have to go to committee or village board. It is the yearly liquor license advisory meets like maybe once or twice a year, depending on who's got an application in at the moment. And so it's not a really, it's a very small committee that can't keep people on for some reason. So it makes sense to fold it into.
So back to the individual server licenses.
Operators license.
Operators license.
Yes.
If for some reason the chief decides that I shouldn't have one of those anymore, then does that go to this committee then at that point, or how's that work for the appeal?
How it's written obviously is if a denial comes to you guys and then if they want to contest it, it comes back to you guys. I think we have talked about on a staff level, changing that where a denial could go to the public safety committee first. And then if they want to contest it again, it would come to a closed session here at the board level, thus giving it a little bit more, let's call it a variety.
Well, yeah, because what we did last month
Yeah.
was kind of, we wouldn't do that for a staff person, have that conversation in an open session. So it was a little odd to have that at an
I
open
mean,
session.
operator's license is a public record.
Yeah.
In that case, yeah, it was, I realized it was uncomfortable, but at the public safety meeting, they would have it in an open session as well. Yeah, so.
In general, do you have an idea how many operators license applications you get?
Yes, So it's a 2-year application and we usually get more around, let's say 100 to 120 in the 2-year cycle. And then it just kind of depends on.
But again, those you can do, whether they're new or renewal, you can take, do those on your own.
Once the background check comes back clean, we just do that in the clerk's office, the duty of the clerk's office to those. It's only when they come. And in the 30 years I worked here, we've had one, and I think that was an unusual circumstance in general too. I just like to do fun things.
So what kind of like other oversight duties would this committee be performing? Not only the police department, but other functions, because to me, it sounds like, licensing and permits is fairly automated. I mean, they gotta have some review, yes.
Basically, license advisory is only for alcohol licensing for businesses, your class A's, class B's, all your other licensing and permitting falls under the clerk's
I'm
side.
just wondering how busy this committee is gonna be.
No, it's just when the license advisory committee would have met, so twice a year.
Every meeting.
And then the rest of the police committee. So budget, are they gonna buy a new squad car? What does that look like? What is the uniforms? Budget recommendations, capital budget recommendations. So the only addition is it takes away personnel and adds the 2 meetings like for license advisory.
So the police commission would really only deal with personnel.
Yes. And then public safety deals with all the others.
Operation.
And that is perfectly fine by the statute. So that's, if you implement that, rest for eternity. Public Works Committee, it just removes utilities. I wanted Public Works to focus really kind of more hardlined on just Public Works. There's a lot of stuff that Drew is working on that the Public Works Committee has talked about or haven't yet talked about that I want to get accomplished. It's on my to-do list. And so this focuses just on that, where the Utilities Commission is focused on the utilities. And so why I want that separate, we separated parks out of that originally. I thought that was a good move. And why I want to remove utilities from that is utilities are ratepayers. They are not taxpayers. And so we have to operate utilities as a business. It is cash flow. It is what are our revenues, what are our expenditures, how are we making money? It's a business. Everything else we do is governmental. And so you have to have a different mindset on it. When it said the board, when the village president had multiple committees, it was my thought that the village president is on the finance committee, plan commission, and utilities. Those are the 3 that he is on, because that is the 3 major issues, 3 major things that we do. We deal with finance, we deal with buildings, and we deal with our utilities.
Isn't utilities on with Public Works now?
It is.
And I'll be honest, the discussion we had at least I brought up at finance was, and I don't want to get into that whole thing because we got 8 other items on here. We'd like to have a little discussion tonight, but I just don't see the utilities has been part of the Public Works Committee forever. And I just don't see the need to separate that one little part off of that committee the way it is now.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, because they're hand in hand.
So they're not, they're run completely different. And that's where,
Part of,
the only thing that's same is staff. They are run very different. We have different audits for it. We have different operations for it. We have different processes for it. We have different entities that we have to deal with. Like they're completely 2 different departments. It's just right now we have 2 same staff. But they are very different functions. Very. The only thing that same is staff is doing both.
so now. I guess I'm confused because I thought we were trying to streamline the process. We just added 2 new committees.
I'm streamlining this district. Streamlining doesn't necessarily mean cutting. It means making it more efficient. I want a committee focused solely on that because it is a business entity. It is a very different function.
Again, like Mike said, we have trouble getting people on committees as it is, residents especially.
Some luck, I see the potential that this could make for shorter meetings. No guarantees on that, that's for sure.
Well, and again, I made a couple comments at finance committee meeting. For those of us that are sitting up here, if we didn't know when we ran for office and if we got elected, that we were gonna have to go to meetings and we shouldn't run for the village board. So, meetings is just a part of being on here, you know, I don't know.
All right, that's for trustees, but
Why not?
I'm thinking for resident seats, if you have, like the shorter meeting potential, you might get more interest.
I think the way people are bickering about their water and sewer bills, I think you're gonna have a fair amount of people that are gonna be willing to step up to that.
But again.
Well, I would make the case that, people didn't elect us to the board and don't pay taxes for us to attend meetings. They want the government run efficiently. And if you ask people, are you pleased with the way utilities have been run over the last 30 years? I think I know what the answer is going to be. And I think they would say that we need to change the way we run utilities, which, by the way, are separate funds from the general fund. Public Works is operated out of general fund, utilities are operated out of their own enterprise funds. So I think this is a necessary change.
I disagree.
I disagree too.
Drew, what do you think?
Well, my question to that is, I mean, everyone can say they want things done differently, but tell me what that means. Because I understand people do not like high sewer bills and high water bills. I get it. But the understanding how little control we actually have over that, I can't do anything about that.
Exactly.
It costs to run the sewer and the water what it costs to run. We're not taking profit out of it.
Most of the things that we do are unfunded mandates, phosphorus, and, you know, you gotta meet certain requirements for the wastewater treatment plant. We don't set those standards. Those are set by DNR and so we just need to abide by those. So.
We talk in Public Works, we talk about, you know, are we gonna repair this road? Are we gonna repair this sidewalk? There are judgment calls involved. It's our money. We have choices there. With the utilities, largely, it's not. This is what we have to do. We have no choice.
Do we need a committee for utilities?
Well, I mean, for utilities, like, you have to have it separated out like that. No, you can have it as part of Public Works, like we do now, whatever kind of Public Works committee. I mean, there's positives and negatives to both. I guess.
Let me rephrase that. Is there a benefit to having strictly a utilities committee?
I think that would entirely depend on the people on that committee. If you have people that are kind of well versed in how everything fits together with a department that does not have utility centric staff, like these guys do everything. So knowing like it's just a piece of a spider web and not the whole thing, like isn't their only responsibility, it's just a major responsibility. Being able to see the whole picture and like having some understanding about how rate setting is done. Like you have people who might even know that, but are willing to learn it. And act in good faith to do what's best for the utility, and great. But if you think that those people are going to be hard to find, no.
Well, and again, setting rates is nobody in this room, including staff, has the expertise to do that. So we set those rates based on recommendations that we get from Ellers or MSA or whoever does that. So, I mean, it's not like if we were city of Madison, just to throw, you know, and they had people that did all that stuff. And, you know, I don't know, like I said, and I want to, before I forget, I want to Jeff, the point that he made earlier, you know, we've only had this new committee structure for 18 months. We haven't even been through a full, you know, 2 election cycles with it yet. So, so I think it's premature to change some of these things, but.
So when a developer comes in and wants to, you know, needs to have the sewer extended and the waters extended into their development, where does that fall under? Utility commission then? To navigate that?
Commission.
Planning would be permits and things, but
Planning will map out.
who does the study? Who is responsible for, you know, this is the, you know, diameter of pipe needed and, I mean, that, you know, some of that's MSA, I realize, but.
Yeah, right now, I guess it would fall under PPU. Because it would be entirely under our, what we're updating this year.
Oh, the.
Our construction standards, like it's completely under our construction standards. Those are part of the ordinance. That is what we require. And that's what MSA checks the shop drawings against, like the diameter pipe and all that kind of stuff. So we already, it's by requirement and kind of under review. I mean, yeah, you could shift those responsibilities to a utility commission. That would, I guess, make sense.
But are they gonna know?
Well,
Yes.
well, that's where the commission should know how the utilities run and would, you know, what I'm thinking its function would be is it knows like what the current capacity is of our facilities and would know like to push back on a developer or something and say, no, we're not ready yet, you know, to prevent overgrowth, you know, before we're ready.
Pretty specialized.
Yeah, as I said, the commission members are not gonna, again, we're gonna rely on our subject matter.
Yeah,
for that.
yeah, it's,
Just throwing, I know, scenarios out there to get an understanding.
Again, this is run like a business. Committees are not.
right, but if we don't have anybody that
We
knows,
will have people who know. That's,
how are you gonna find people that know that?
how do we have people that know this on, if you're not? We don't.
I mean, ultimately, in the fact that I do see a clear difference between running the utility and setting rates versus public works things, determining which roads and sidewalks and things get replaced. So I lean towards actually separating the two. But, you know, I've got a couple of questions yet.
I disagree. I think I just think it should be left as is and let the experts.
The experts can talk about it at that committee.
It's like, just figure out what's like, I guess my only concern in looking at it would be that this would be the committee that is responsible for rate setting. I mean, we can only do what we can do with water, but for sewer and stormwater, but sewer is the problem child. Like they would be responsible for rate setting. And I agree that you wouldn't have any problem finding somebody, probably would want to be honest, but then finding the right person who's acting in good faith would be the big thing. Because if they're just going to sit on a committee, even if they do have a general understanding how things work and just vote no on any rate, they're going to screw the utility. That's just what it is. And so that's, I'm not saying that everybody should just blindly agree to every, you know, utility rate increase or anything, but I'm saying that, you know, if that person's just no for any increase whatsoever, and it comes down to the point where an increase is necessary just to cover their debt load, and they vote no, that's a very dark road.
Aren't they advisory and they would bring it back to the board and we would have the final decision?
Depends on how you set it up. If you set it up as utility commission, no. Well, yes, you can set it up however you want. If it would help, we could do it as utility committee.
Well,
Instead of utility
that's what
commission.
I was gonna make, the police commission, no village board members on there. And the village board has no say in it. So the village board would have no say in hiring, firing, discipline, anything for the police department. If we go with that route. Yeah, but again, and at 5,000 people, we need to go that route, but we're still away from 5,000 people, but, so.
100 houses built this year and 100 houses built next year. You're gonna, we're at about 3,000.
Yeah.
We're,
Okay, we're pushing 29. We're probably at 3,000.
so do you have your hand up?
Yeah. So I was looking at, since we're looking at streamlining committees, does that mean we're getting rid of committees and which ones are being looked at to get rid of?
The only ones that are being decided is on this presentation.
Okay, I didn't.
No other committees.
Yeah, so Lake Committee is going with under parks and
License advisories for under.
license advisory is going under public safety.
So CBA.
CDL,
Just that I said.
Literally, the only ones that are being discussed are what's on that presentation.
Okay, I didn't know if that meant those were all gone.
Nope.
So that helps. Thank you.
Jeff, do you have a question?
I did, or comment. Well, one, kind of piggybacking on that again, going back to, you guys are gonna hear broken record, but parks with non-resident. Why would we have non-residents having any influence
Again,
whatsoever?
I'm not recommending non-residents. I'm recommending sports.
Well,
Just
but-
who's
But
a
why
resident?
would we have a special interest group representing the current ad hoc committee for the bequeathment? that has zero to do with youth sports whatsoever. It's apples and oranges conversation. It doesn't, makes zero sense to do that. One. The other thing is just, and it's more of a question for Gabe, I guess, but gathering kind of what you're describing relative to the Utilities Commission, it sounds to me like you're looking for more in-depth conversation from that committee that's separate from Public Works Committee, because right now, the way that those two entities function are very different, and we concede that for sure, but I think the way I think about it is, having been on the board, is that there needs to be more guidance from the board to those committees as to what questions or how they should be functioning. And it sort of makes sense to separate that out, but again, there's a wealth of experience in this village, whether you like it or not. I might not agree with your experience or your position on things, but there's certainly a wealth of individuals that know how to do stuff and can engage in different things. But that said, whether they want to sit on a committee and spend a bunch of time going to meetings is a whole different can of worms. So again, I think framing it up in terms of what conversations you're trying to facilitate out of a utilities commission or committee is an important way of framing that up, because I do agree that those conversations are different than just standard public works conversations, which are more task project oriented, whereas utilities is much more like, hey, we've got to think about this cloud hanging out out there 10 years down the road, but we've also got to maintain profitability and sustainability relative to the resources there.
And to Ian's concern too, you can always put 3 board members on the utility commission, so that way no recommendation can be without, more forethought for the board's authority. So if they're gonna be the rate setters, put 3 board members on there. Then you don't ever have to worry about them going way off script.
And that was gonna be my other comment, where we reduce the number of board members from 3 to 2. And I'm not sure what, I have the floor, Debbie, thank you. Where from 3 to 2, I don't understand it, because like I said, unless you can show me a list of that you've got 25 people that are willing to sit on some of these committees. I don't know why we're doing, I think
It depends on which ones.
well, but so again, I think some consistency, but Debbie, what do you have to say?
If you got trustees 4 through 6 are only gonna be on one committee, I mean, they would chair one, you could put one of them on.
They would chair one, but still be on 4 others.
Yeah.
So all of you are on 5.
So you could put somebody from the board on that.
You easily could. And then you would have, yeah.
So you would have some guidance and some, support there.
Does he make it a committee or commission?
Committee. I'm fine with making it a committee as long as it's.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm a little better with that. So we have 8 minutes left till we need to adjourn. Any other?
Tony's trying to.
Tony, go
I
ahead.
was just going to say, with the police commission, the board's going to have discretion to describe what they're going to look for. Hey, in that.
The board decides pay by what the budget is. They determine FTE count. The police commission's job is to hire.
Hire, fire, and discipline.
The board
The board will have no say as to who gets hired in the police department.
As
No,
long as it fits in the budget.
They're in the budget.
So
and don't take this the wrong way, but so the commission can just hire anybody, say, hey, we like this guy. And we have no say. We won't see.
it takes the politics out of it. That's the
I
goal.
personally like that.
That's the goal. Is to take politics out of police hire. Their job is not to be political. Their job is to uphold the law.
well, that could be argued for every position that we hire.
Agreed, but that's why my job is to manage the politics to staff. Mend that bridge. And with the police commission, as I've seen it in the past, I am the HR person, so they are working with me just as the library board when hiring Andrea. I sat in on every interview. I negotiated Andrea's contract for benefits, or start date, all of that. Like, I'm fully involved in the hiring processes.
So okay, that eases my mind. Cause I was thinking with the commission, they would just.
They need HR, and that's my role.
Yeah, you're not a voting member, you're
No.
there as an advisor.
Just as like the library board would, or, if you have a utility commission that hires a utility director, I'm there to help guide. Obviously, they can do whatever they want, but once they said, all right, we're having Andrea, then I worked with Andrea to get all that, laid out. So her first day was clean. Be the same.
All right, so any other, so this will be at finance next Monday.
Yeah, do we have any guidance to finance?
Well,
I guess guidance, I would say a utility committee rather than a commission.
and I'm gonna bring this up here now because it's something to think about, and that's more you, Mike, but, so I can see, are we gonna vote on this at the board as a package, or are we gonna vote on this individually? Because we're all over the place here tonight. And I don't know if we'll ever get anything passed if it's a package, to be very honest.
It can be a package, but then you can bring it apart. You could say, it would be a design, village committee proposal, and then you'd make a motion, I recommend do blank, and then do blank, so you can cut it apart.
I don't see us.
Yeah, it's not gonna be a.
I don't see the six of us here being unanimous on anything that we've discussed tonight, so, okay, well, that, again, that's a.
But utility committee, what other changes would you like? Gives me direction.
Well, and I think the other thing, and, for the Parks Rec, and, if it's somebody, do we include some non-voting members on there that, especially from the youth sports, again, I'm fine with, I guess, the youth sports or two-person on there because, again, they are the major users, but definitely I think they should be residents of the village and. So.
Do they need to actually have a seat though? Can we just invite them? Because that's a problem that we have. like-
So you could also you could have 5 seats and you don't have to have youth sports be the one to fill it. If they want to fill it, then I would say the village president puts their priority first if they're a village resident. My really only major hope is that you add more. One, because you're merging lake committee into that, so then it fills a couple of those individuals. But two, you have a lot of people that are interested in this committee. This is the one that people love. You're not gonna have any problem filling it.
So we're going to 7 people, right, is what you're.
That would be 7, 2 trustees.
Yes, yeah,
I mean, you can have the last 2 be youth sports recommended, and if they put in their name, they're at the top of that list. You can do that, that's up to Mike.
I think that's the one committee that we can go above the 5 that are running on committees and, not have any issues fill it,
Not at all. Again, I could be wrong, but based on the conversations that I have, people, that's what they care about.
All right.
Cool. I think I have your motion.
So let's spend 3 minutes here on the 175th thing, because that's a bigger or a hot topic or a topic that we need to deal with.
175th is coming up this year. Obviously, it's too late to do too much. My thought is that we design a logo. I know Arts and Culture has been kind of going back and forth on that. I think that's great. Village End, we have $2,000 in Arts and Culture miscellaneous budget. Commemorative challenge coin, maybe like a Christmas ornament and like tumblers. That's the village does. If the chamber wants to do something else, great. I know Ford dealership has some interest in doing something. I'm sure Community Club wants to do something, and I know they're doing I think it was the 50th for the community picnic.
Yeah, so, there are 3 things really that are going on this year. 175th for the village, 75th for the community picnic, and it's 50 years for EMS.
Yeah.
That's right. So like my hope is that the village does those very small items out of the budget that we have. And then we help, and then Arts and Culture facilitates, businesses doing something, or, the Hop Garden having a beer or something like that. It's not village done. It is, we just work with businesses to get it done. That is all the involvement I want from us. We're not going to set an event, Maren and I, we don't have to end up doing it. But if somebody is interested in doing the event, we can help them and kind of give them guidance and all of that. But our end is only towards those couple items. Y'all good with that?
Cool. That's good. All right.
That's all.
We have 30 seconds left before we need to adjourn, so, I don't think it does us any good.
Next month will be ordinances.
Yeah. Okay, so with that, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. We are adjourned at 6:55.
All right, seeing it's 7 o'clock, I'm gonna call to order the Village of Belleville Board of Trustees meeting for Monday, February 2nd, 2026. 7 o'clock. Call to order. But the allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Call please.
President Service,
President.
trustees Bateman,
Here.
Baumgart, Cannon,
Here.
Proud.
Here.
Casmar is absent, Ziegler.
Here.
Comments? You have any public
I'll
comments?
sign up for public comment at this set time of the meeting.
Consent agenda. All items on the consent agenda are considered routine and will be enacted in one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a board member requests it, in which event the item will be removed from the consent agenda and considered the first item after the approval of the consent agenda. And tonight we have the village board meeting minutes from January 19th, special event application for the full moon walk, village dam emergency response action plan, and the January 2026 check register.
To approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Tony, second by Debbie. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes.
Did you put that together?
The edits, you know?
Oh, thank you.
President's report. I do not have any items for tonight. New business. Discuss and consider a Chamber of Commerce partnership.
Yeah, so the Chamber of Commerce actually would like to get your permission to use this building as their physical address. The only thing that really is concerning to Rick and I is just what if the board decides ever that's, yeah, if for some reason we don't want them using this address, then we have to just have an agreement that we can cut it off at any time. But other than that, they're not asking for access. They're not gonna have a desk. They're not gonna have paperwork. We might put paperwork like in the shelving units, just informational, but it really is a simple ask. I didn't have any issue with it. They're still gonna have their PO box. This is just Google Chamber of Commerce. I just don't have permission to use our building that way, so I had to get your permission.
I'll make a motion that we approve the use of Village Center by the Chamber of Commerce, the Village Center address by the Chamber of Commerce.
Second.
Shelley. So is your agreement, or however you're gonna word this, with Rick going to have exit or termination clause in there?
We give them a 30-day notice,
Some kind of notice. Is their address, basically.
Cease and desist.
Yeah.
So,
Using our, they have anything delivered here that I have nobody around?
They can, but if it does, it's not our responsibility. They still have their PO box. Really, they already have a PO box now, but they actually were using at one of the businesses in Belleville, and they are no longer associated with the chamber. So it's not going to function any differently. It's just a Google pin.
Yeah.
Again, if they have a box here,
That's on them.
that's on them.
right, any other discussion from the board? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Passes. Next item, discuss and consider historical society partnership.
So since I've gotten here, I've been wondering what to do with the library and library park. I put a moratorium on special events using the bathrooms as there was a little bit of just a couple issues and just dirt getting in there and all that. And we don't really have people that can already maintain it just as village staff wise. So I just paused that until we come up with a better plan. The Historical Society asked, scheduled a meeting with me because I wanted to do an agreement with them on the stuff that's in the historical library, like what's ours, what's theirs. Can we have like a, an agreement on if it burns down, who's, all the insurance stuff. And they came in wanting to ask if they could run a historical museum out of this. I came in wanting to ask them if they could do a historical museum, and it lasted like 10 minutes. They expected to fight, and I was like, no, I'm gonna fight for you because I want this to happen. I think it's great. They're gonna operate it, they're gonna staff it, they're gonna man it. It's our building. We have to do the electricity, the Wi-Fi, all that we already do to it anyway. They're just gonna make it public usable. Maintain it. I think it's a great part.
So will they, any requests for use of that building will go through them, or?
Obviously, we still maintain it, but it'll be their kind of, we will come up with a structure of, no major event without their permission or something like that, but yeah, they'll schedule their own hours and all that kind of stuff.
I would imagine they would need a special
Event application.
application.
So as I sent my question and email to you before the meeting was about the use of the restroom in there. Will they be responsible then for maintaining, the cleanliness of that restroom?
Yeah, I'm not gonna have our cleaning crew in there. We'll be responsible for this, the general upkeep of that stuff. Obviously, if there's a major capital item, then we need to replace it, or if something going on, it's our building, but I give them permission to.
I'm just worried about like the day-to-day.
That's all.
Running on a TP.
Yeah,
Paper.
mopping the floor, that kind of stuff.
Vacuuming the floor.
That'd be that.
Yeah.
We can obviously get, have toilet paper over there, but.
And there's no, we're not charging a fee or anything.
Nope. This is a service that I wanted to do. We just don't have capacity and they're willing to do it.
Right.
There's some leadership change there now because the guy who's been instrumental in it is no longer with us. So I know that I've talked to a couple of people already and they're already working on things. So
They would have probably like an hour a week of like just open hours and then you can go research as time allows. They'd probably put up a TV in there for digital stuff, and obviously they'll still use the library for some stuff as well, but this will give them a space for there. Yeah.
Just two things I thought of as you're talking about.
Yeah.
I'm not opposed. I think it's a great idea. But do you provide separate Wi-Fi over there?
Well, we can we being already in public works now, and I know we can, because I know I can access public online, I believe. And then I know you do too. don't
Yeah,
you?
that's what I was gonna
Yeah.
say. Our Wi-Fi already covers the park,
So
so
then we're good there.
I don't think that's necessary.
Yeah.
Be duplicate. The only other thing would be, and maybe this is just a change, but for music in the park, we usually would keep a cart of stuff in there, so we wouldn't have to haul it over every week.
I think that's perfect. It's still our building. So, yes, I don't see any issue.
I'll work it out though, I'm sure.
Yeah. It's still our building. We still maintain a right to go in at any point. It's just, they're more public that can go into it.
Or it gets hidden behind an exhibit.
Somebody's gonna take our paper products. Horrors.
I'll make a motion that the village enter in an agreement with the Historical Society for use of the historic library.
Second. Other discussion?
So would they, try to, I know I saw in here that they're going to do some structural or interior stuff with it. Are they going to try to keep it historical?
Well, yeah, it's more of like, they might mount a TV for like a display or rearrange, shelving or stuff like that. The structure is staying the same. They don't have permission to alter the structure, but just what's inside if they want to do some type of different display or.
And that should all be in the agreement.
Yes, and it is, will be. And then we will do very similar. We can have a 30-day window that says, nope, we're done.
They used to have a display, or there used to be stuff in there. I haven't been in there in a couple of years now, but yeah.
The upstairs is terrible.
Yeah, well, yeah, but the lower level there, I mean, we have had village board meetings over there years
There's
ago.
signage boards and stuff.
So I think if they can get it back to kind of the way it was, that would be great. So,
And again, we get what's something that I've always wanted to get done without us having to do it.
yeah. Somebody in there on a regular basis will hopefully make sure that nothing major happens.
Right.
So,
They're already starting with the upstairs and taking a photographic inventory of everything that's up there.
okay.
Some of which are,
Yeah.
yeah. The library's original collection is up there, so we'll be taking that back into the new library. Yeah, can you believe it?
You mean to tell me when there was a Boy Scout Eagle project to move it from that building to this building? With my cricket? You tell me, it looks like there is some Eagle badge.
I'm sure there's another Eagle Scout who needs a badge.
Gary, you remember going up the steps to that building?
Oh, yeah. Free, I don't, yeah.
It's straight up.
I mean, that building is well built because all the books that were up there, how that floor number collapses beyond me because, because like I said, those stairs creak as long as I can remember, so.
It's only one book case.
Well,
But still,
Very.
but still, the cat stuff was so cool. The
Yeah.
cat's up there. And
Yeah.
and it's a great old building, so.
Yeah.
Okay, we've got a motion to approve. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. Great. Next item, discuss and consider the sewer connection charge ordinance and fee.
Something like your pew pew and was recommended by pew pew. Basically, we're just before we get geared up here with construction season, just cleaning up something that needs to be cleaned up. So our ordinance for connection charges kind of all over the place, and so we just kind of nailed all the charges down.
And this is mostly for new construction.
Yeah, it'd be, well, it's only, it's a new connection. So you got an existing building, but if you have a new connection.
Like if you add a bathroom or something.
Yep.
Gotcha.
This was recommended by Public Works, so. So, right, sorry.
I guess, I didn't quite follow what the REU, residential equivalent unit is. So is one unit the full charge and then?
Basically, up through a fourplex, you have exactly the same charge. It's just broken out differently per unit. And then after 4 units, you have an additional quarter of the charge for each additional.
That makes sense.
Yep.
Okay.
I mean, you brought up with the new 81 units that are going in over there.
Yeah.
Originally, that would have been 81 REUs, so it would have been like $300 and some thousand.
I think $310,000 as compared
Yeah.
to, at this point, it's about 7.
Now, each one of those would be a quarter of a unit, so it'll be 40.
Well, come on, that's how we help out the.
Yeah, I know. Yes.
I need to grow.
We had the right, we caught the wrong fish. That, and then our ordinance specifies that we have commercial hookup charges based on the size of the connection and. Because we do have some commercial
So I
stuff.
believe this is in line with what Verona.
The percentage of differences between the individual meter sizes when you get to commercial, yes. But I kind of bastardized a couple different ordinances for the REUs.
So do we need to make 2 separate motions here? Because one's an ordinance,
I would.
one's a resolution.
Yeah.
I'll move that we adopt ordinance 2026-01.
Second.
Gary, seconded by Shelley. To approve 2026-01. Just give me a second. Any discussion on that motion for approving or 2026-01? All those in favor? Any opposed?
I'll make a motion that we adopt resolution 2026-03.
Motion by Gary, second by Shelley to approve 2026-03, right? Which is the commercial portion of this. Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Moving on. All right, number 8 are news and announcements.
Reminder that the next board meeting will be in the library and not here because it's the day before the election. So, I'm gonna go over there.
It'll be open.
It'll be open. I'm here the next day if you're in Dade County. Vote.
What do you say? There's only the circuit court?
Yes, the Dane County Circuit Court seat 1, I think it is, the only primary running on that. So I don't know.
I don't know.
But we will have we have our new Badger books out, so you should just come up and you can see how cool the full books are.
That's right. You finally got your wish.
Yeah, we had training. We did have training with most of the poll workers and it was good. I'm really excited. So this is a great election to get used to these.
Any community events?
There's that moon. Yeah, you guys just back. That's the end of the month from Beach and
Okay, they were trying to.
Indoor Farmers Market will be the Saturday, the 14th, which will be here in this building. And it sounds really exciting. So I know that the farmers market in the summer is very popular. This is a lot of the same vendor, just in an indoor capacity. They're going to be holding those once a month for the next 3 months. So that'll be really cool.
Legion bingo at the Hop Garden on the 11th to 12th.
A reminder that anybody with an event that wants it on the village calendar just needs to, there's an application online that they can fill out and we will put all community events on that calendar, not just the ones that go through us.
Nice. All right, any future agenda items?
Your next meeting, we'll have the village committees from the finance committee. And then I'm hoping to have a budget amendment for you guys for this building to get the office and built out and then a storage, kind of better changes over there in the conference room. So hopefully I can get a contractor who can get that work done and get some bids and.
That's for this building?
Yeah, so we will take that fan out, wall it off, put a door frame for the court clerk, get those cabinets out of there. And then what I think will happen is we need a better storage spot for minutes for the election equipment. And then I know there's some court files. So my goal is to just create 2 storage closets over on that other side that can go to those. That's about it.
In that case, I would entertain motions.
I make a motion to adjourn.
By Shelley, second by Cody. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned at 7:18.